Hello guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I am going to tell you about such games, which became very controversial after releasing, as we know that video games have become increasingly controversial in recent years. This can be for a variety of reasons, including violent or polarizing gameplay, unfinished or rushed content, and development, or simply not meeting the high standards of and amassing social media hype. So without any further delay, let us start the video. Our first game in this list is Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. Pokémon video games are being released, for better or worse, more and more frequently recently. The latest installment, Pokémon Scarlet and Violet, has been a source of widespread disappointment for loyal fans, and for some gamers, it was almost unplayable. On release day, players were met with unreliable frame rates, Pokeball glitches, absurd pop-in, and one-to-many bugs. The game has received patch updates since, and there's another to come in February 2023. Ultimately though, Pokémon and Nintendo's reputations have been irreparably injured. Our second game of this list is Mortal Kombat series. Fighting video game Mortal Kombat was originally designed to compete with the highly popular Street Fighter franchise. Since its original release in 1992, Mortal Kombat has been perceived as controversial by critics and politicians alike, so much so that the video game even ignited talks of the ESRB game rating system. This is down to the game's unrelenting relish for graphic gore. Mortal Kombat's fatalities are especially violent, allowing gamers to stylishly finish off their already mutilated opponent. As more installments are released, the graphics continue to improve and further polarize public opinion. Our third game of this list is No Man's Sky. Released back in the summer of 2016, No Man's Sky was a highly anticipated action-adventure survival game. It's set in an infinite procedurally generated universe, a promising premise that caught the attention of swaths of gamers. One that developer Sean Murray naively encouraged during early press interviews. Unfortunately, the game itself didn't match the hype, which left many players incredibly angry, even going so far as to send the studio death threats. Some fans, though, are loyal to the game, with criticisms heard and improvements made since the controversy. Our third game in this list is Manhunt, a 2003 cult hit. Manhunt follows a death row prisoner who is, against his will, involved in disturbing snuff films. To gain his freedom, Manhunt was banned in numerous countries due to the horror game's violent content. Manhunt is centered around stealth kills, as opposed to all-out gun shows. The UK media even went so far as to implicate Manhunt in a murder case, but this wasn't taken seriously by the courts or police. Our fourth game of this list is Cyberpunk 2077. Touted as one of the most controversial releases in gaming history, Cyberpunk 2077 was highly anticipated for 8 whole years. Budding fans were deeply frustrated with the late release and subsequent lack of hyped features. Developers CD Projekt Red did their best to keep fans in the loop, but the toxic hype garnered on social media couldn't be reasoned with. Our fifth game of this list is Death Race. This arcade driving game was first released back in 1976. The simple objective is for the player to hit as many gremlins with their car to score high points. This is made all the more addictive with 2 players, sparking competition. Death Race attracted controversy because the targeted gremlins were to humanoid. Civic organizations and newspapers struck back at the game, arguing that it encouraged violence, albeit virtually. Despite the widespread negative attention, Death Race actually saw a leap in sales. From all the talk, our sixth game of this list is South Park: The Stick of Truth. Just like its animated TV series counterpart, the role-playing game South Park: The Stick of Truth is brimming with edgy and shocking humor. What starts as a children's fantasy adventure rapidly becomes a bizarre conflict involving Nazi zombies. Much like a South Park episode, this and more led to regional censorship, particularly in Germany and Australia, which the creators had to work around. Interestingly, the USA release is the only version that is entirely uncensored. Our seventh game of this list is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. As a first-person shooter, the Call of Duty franchise has always been subject to discomfort surrounding its subject matter and setting. However, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is especially controversial due to the playable scene whereby gamers in sight and airport terror, attack, and massacre. The mission is called No Russian and players are now able to skip it before proceeding with the video game's campaign. Our 8th game of this list is Hatred. The developer of Shoot 'em up video game Hatred described it as a reaction to political correctness, as well as games as art. Gamers play as a mass murderer on a hate-fueled rampage. Even the game's violent announcement trailer was touted as deeply controversial by gaming journalists. Critics found it to be repetitive and unreasonably violent. Despite becoming a reluctant cult classic, Hatred is now cited as one of the worst games ever made. Our 9th game of this list is GTA San Andreas. The Grand Theft Auto franchise has frequently come under fire for its controversial characters, gameplay, and plot. However, it was a modder in 2005 who incited GTA San Andreas' notorious controversy. The hot coffee mod alludes to a scene in the unmodified game, whereby the player is invited inside for coffee by the main character's girlfriend. The mod allows players to partake in an overtly crude scene, which was otherwise unseen in the original game. San Andreas was soon given an adults-only rating in response, so Rockstar Games released a defensive cold coffee patch for the PC version, diminishing the restrictive rating. And our final game of this list is Postal 2. Postal 2 has a lot in common with a previous game on this list, Hatred. Both games are essentially about mass murder, and both were criticized for being tasteless and disturbing. In fact, Postal 2's content has been deemed so upsetting to some that it has actually been banned in numerous countries around the world. So that is it for today. I hope you liked the video. Please tell me in comments section your opinion about these games, and I am sorry for late video, as it take me some time to collect information. Yeah.